Anyway, let's get back to other stories today. And I'm asking you today about the former Prime Minister Liz Truss's launch of a new group happening right now called Popular Conservatism. Our political commentator Peter Carpel said we're going to talk to him about that in the next hour. But they're pro tightening immigration, anti the woke stuff, dealing with all of that, cut taxes, very popular moves. But I'm asking what policies would be popular with you. Tom, I mean, this stuff is sort of like apple pie and mum, isn't it? I mean, it's not. I'm not quite sure who wouldn't be in favour of that. Who is vaguely centre right or far right, no, further right in this country. Those are really quite obvious policies. The question is, how do you do it?
I think that's the point. I think that's what a lot of these groups. This group, the other 5 families, whatever else we're calling them this week.
What have we got? We've got the ERG, the Brexiteers.
Common Sense Group.
Common Sense Group.
The New Conservatives. Is
yeah.
that Miriam Cates's group?
Yeah.
I forget some of the others. But these
there's quite a lot of overlap.
There are. I'm sure there's overlap in memberships to a certain extent as well. But one thing I think they have in common, the reason these groups have flowered, shall we say, over recent years, is because of the fact that you have had governments which were often elected or pledged. Even if there was someone like Boris Johnson, who's a bit more of an unknown quantity in terms of what he actually thinks, pledged to do some, what they would call conservative things, but just never managed to do them, either because they pulled back from doing so, or they tried to and met resistance in the civil service, in the courts, or so on. And I think that's been the big problem for a lot of people who are involved in conservative politics, who are members, who are activists and so on, is that they feel like they need to go and start up all these new groups because what they thought they had actually installed into office was rendered totally incapable of governing.
Here's what the Conservatives need, new groups within the Conservatives, or, as a lot of people are now saying, there was an interesting poll in the Express at the weekend, actually they need a new party. That actually this is too broad a church. When a party becomes so broad, it's utterly meaningless in terms of their values and the policies they want to deliver. When you've got the Cameroons and the Trussites, they just don't agree on enough that you're actually going to tackle it. When the key issues you want to tackle, like complete lack of growth, mass immigration, both legal and illegal, and the woke issues, and the abject lack of failure of the sort of the so-called moderates in the party to deal with this issue. A lot of people are saying, realistically, they're thinking they're going to vote. A lot of people are saying they're going to vote Reform UK.
And I think what the right are now sensing is what is often a lot of the debates been happening on the left for a long time, which say how many times do we just have to be told it's dinner time, you've got to come inside? How many times do you have to be told, look, yes, you hate us, but the alternative is so much worse? How many times have you got to just basically hold your nose and vote for a party, even though you get none of the things you want, but because they're more in your corner than the other one? I think there's a certain point
because they say the right things. At least the Labour Party don't say any of the right things and won't do the right things. Tory Party say the right things but won't do the right things. And people are going, well, what's the point? What's the difference? Especially
now, because one thing about Brexit was that for this very brief period, party politics became interesting. It was incredible, certainly in my lifetime.
It was exhausting, Tom. I was on air every day. It was exhausting.
But it was actually of consequence. That period of they're dancing on the head of a pin, the most choice you've got is between sparkling and steel, politically speaking. There was just nothing really at stake. Suddenly there was, on left and right to a certain extent. And that's now completely gone. And I think when you have a situation where you're expected to vote for this party, even though really is a few more years of Rishi Sunak can be that different from a few years of Keir Starmer, people are not going to show up to conferences and get involved.
But that said, I think, you think very exciting times like with Brexit, and all those battles, and indeed the battles over lockdown as well. This was existential. This is about people's lives. I mean, Brexit, look, I never, ever won't be a Brexiteer to the day I die. But in terms of the importance of actually people's individual lives, no, it's nothing compared to people being locked in their homes, losing their freedoms, their businesses, and their health, and what's happened to children. We're going to talk about that later in the show. Another report showing, lockdowns harm children. No, beep, Sherlock, But I think also the battle right now in terms of trans ideology in our schools, I think that's existential for our kids. I think that is, and for our civilization. And I think the battle over net zero. Net zero is basically about impoverishing us. You impoverish a country like we did through lockdown. You make a country poorer. You cut people's lifespans. You cut people's chances of education. You cut people's chances of getting diagnosed with cancer and getting treatment in good time. You are going to ruin people's lives and make people's lives shorter. I think that's existential. I think there is so much that needs to be fought for right now, and a lot of people go, well, who's going to fight for me?
And that's what annoys me when people talk about these issues as if they're like a culture war, as if they're something that Liz Truss and these popular Conservatives just made up.
Made up, yeah.
because, as you say, the gender stuff is really important. I mean, it's through gender ideology that you're getting a new form
literally got people telling
misogyny.
telling girls to cut their breasts off, and everyone thinks that's okay.
It's become a means of correcting gay kids as well, which no one ever wants to talk about. It's absolutely outrageous. And
the trans movement is misogynistic, and it is homophobic
and mental in general. So, so definitely important that we deal with that. And then at the same time, you talk about something like the net zero policies. Again, people talk about, you know, oh, it's only a few Tory backbenchers who get exercised about this. This is about people's lives. This is about cost of living. This is about having a society that has enough power and resources that people can live a decent life. Yeah. And these are really important things.
Electricity working. It's old-fashioned, being able to put the heating on.
Exactly. This isn't some, you know, Punch and Judy Oxford Union debate. It actually matters to people's lives, and that's why it's important that someone in politics takes it.